Good afternoon. This 12th meeting of the Committee of the Whole for the Town of Perth will now come to order. I will call upon Councillor Barry Smith, who will be sharing with us the original motion that you see in front of you. We will. Barry Smith will be sharing with us the original motion that you see in front of you. Hopefully we can rectify this from a technical point of view. Okay, I will continue. As I was saying, I'm calling upon Councillor Barry Smith to adopt the agenda as printed on your schedule. However, he will be reading the original motion, which we will not be voting on, and he will be sharing an amended motion, which we will be voting on. Councillor Smith.
I, Councillor Barry Smith, move that the agenda for the regular Committee of the Whole meeting of October 7th, 2025 be adopted as presented.
Could you present your amended motion, Councillor?
All right. That would be on item 6.1.
I believe the clerk had shared that with you.
Yes, I have it here. There is an amendment to the motion for Kirsten Browse, Climate Change Advisory Panel. She was to make a presentation tonight and is sick and not able to attend. So I have an amended motion that the agenda for the Committee of the Whole meeting of October 7th, 2025 be adopted as amended to remove agenda item number 6.1, Kirsten Browse, Climate Change Advisory Panel, Perth's Climate Plan Journey.
Thank you very much. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Item number 3, disclosure of pecuniary interest or conflict of interest and general nature thereof. Is there anybody that wishes to declare at this time? Seeing none, we will move forward. Number 4, public meetings under the Planning Act. We have none scheduled for this evening. Item number 5.1, the approval of the September 9th, 2025 and the September 16th, 2025 minutes. Councillor Bolt.
Thank you, Chair. Moved by myself that the minutes of the regular Committee of the Whole meetings held on September 9th, 2025 and September 16th, 2025 be approved.
All those in favor? Carried. We now move to item 6.2, and I will ask Tony Hendricks and Don McKenzie to come forward. They will be presenting a presentation on solar net metering electricity. Gentlemen, welcome. For the record, if you could state your names and your addresses. We look forward to your presentation, and once you begin, you have 10 minutes.
I'm Don McKenzie. I live at 21 Alvin Street in Perth.
Tony Hendricks. I live at 5 Taggart Crescent in Perth.
Thank you very much. We look forward to your presentation this afternoon.
I'm not sure if it's good afternoon or good evening at this point, but good afternoon. Mr. Chair, Madam Mayor, councillors and staff. Thank you for allowing us this time to present to you our proposal for solar initiatives, which we believe will protect us against rising electricity costs and doing our part to reduce greenhouse gases. We also hope that this project will dovetail nicely with the work and objectives of the Climate Change Advisory Panel. As I'm sure everyone here knows me, I would like to introduce Don McKenzie to those of you who do not know who Don is. Don is the founder of the Highland Communication and co-owner of Time Mobile, both local companies which served the needs of communications for local businesses and government, where he spent 23 years problem-solving complex telecommunications systems and is our local solar engineer. Don built and lives in a practical and innovative net zero home here in Perth. And Don is also the co-founder of Perth Pickleball, which from humble beginnings 10 years ago now has 237 members.
Oh,
And I'll turn the technical part of our presentation over to Don.
Okay, thank you. So we have some slides we had sent to you there. I'll just draw attention to a few things here. So if we're on the first one here. So Tony and I started by looking at, we got information from the town, which was basically 45 individual monthly hydro bills. And we totaled those up, and it turns out the town spends about something over $600,000 a year on hydro bills. Of those four, there were four whoppers. One is the water plant, the other is the wastewater, the pool and arena are sort of the four large consumers. We feel that the consumption will increase over time as heat pumps and vehicles are electrified in the town. I also expect that the cost of power will significantly increase going forward. So $600,000 a year today, but what could that be in 25 years? So next slide. So the thought here is that we could start now to install solar in stages to save on future electrical costs. And we do have one site in mind that would be a good one to start with, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Okay. Next slide. So just a little bit of background here. So 1 square meter of sunshine, is equivalent to 1,000 watts of energy or 100 LED light bulbs. Excess solar is sent to the grid, and it reduces fossil fuel used by grid load balancing gas plants that often operate during this time. So the 8 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock window, you're generating solar and you're offsetting some greenhouse gases there because you're reducing the need for the gas plants, which basically are there to provide peak loads. Next. So this little diagram is just trying to show you a building, which is how net metering works. So you start out with a building, it's already connected to the grid, which, you know, all buildings would be in Perth. And then you only add solar equipment, which would be, in this case, it's on the roof. So you have the panels, which would be on the roof there. They can be ground mounted, and they can be much larger than that. And then the equipment, which is on the wall there, can be outside, inside the building, or in a ground mount system, even in the panels. So by using the net metering model, you get the best of both worlds. You get the reliability of the grid, so you have power available at all times, and then you're allowed to feed solar back into that to save cost. And a smart meter, which is there on the side of the building as well, keeps track of the net electricity used. So there's some regulations for what you can and can't do when you connect solar. Right now, the generation, so your solar panels, and the consumption have to be on the same electric meter. So they have to be at the same location. There is expected regulation changes coming, which allows something called virtual net metering, where generation can be at one site and the consumption can be at another. This would allow the town to, would allow the town hall, for example, to be powered by extra solar panels that might be located out at the lagoon. Virtual net metering is the holy grail. I strongly encourage you to press your senior government colleagues for action any way you can on moving virtual net metering ahead. Next slide. One more. There we go. Okay, so there's an aerial view of a piece of the wastewater treatment, which is the lagoon site. This is a perfect first site. It has lots of space, so it has room for ground-mounted system. It uses lots of power itself, and it has good aesthetics. So you know, it's a good location you're at to do your first site, and it's a very cost effective one. Right now, the facility uses about $132,000 of power a year. Okay, so there's a few options in how the town might proceed with this, and one would be, and it could be a combination of these, but the first one would be for the town would own and operate the solar, gets the financial benefit from it, and it would be sort of equivalent to buying a photocopier. You're going to buy the machine and take on to the future. Second option is from a power services contract, so others can provide the system, and the town would enter into a fixed long-term price contract to buy power, and that would be, in my analogy, closer to renting your photocopier. Now, one such entity is the Ottawa Renewable Energy Co-op. We call it OREC, and its organization provides these systems and have done this for some time. So they engineer, build, finance these types of projects. And OREC is actually represented here tonight. There's two people, Dick and Marion. So our conclusion out of all this is that people are for environmental action as long as it costs nothing and I don't have to change anything. So a stage plan for solar can start immediately and be built out as the rules change, all the time progressing towards electrical net zero self-sufficiency for the town of Perth, a path to save hundreds of thousands of dollars and help the environment. Now, Tony?
I just wanted to add that Don and I are always available as community volunteers, along with the experts from OREC, for follow-up talks, meetings, or information sessions, both with council and staff. We'd like to finish off by asking if we could ask for a staff report to validate the concept and feasibility of this type of project.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Does anybody have any questions of either Don or Tony? Councillor Bolt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So you spoke, Don, about option A and B with respect to, say, putting something out where the wastewater facility is. A being the town paying for the installation, but reaping 100% of the benefits, and B paying someone else to install it and having a long-term buyback. Two questions. How expensive would it be to erect that particular site in your estimation?
So we're at the pretty early stages here, so I don't have any exact numbers, but often for these types of projects for solar, they come up with numbers for return on investment. So whatever the cost is, how many years does it take to recover that from the savings on the electrical side? That can vary quite a bit, but it could be anything. I mean, panels are getting cheaper, the racking's getting more expensive, the labor, so on. So it's a bit hard to say, but those numbers could range anywhere from the payback in that your system is paid for from the savings from something in the order of 7 years possibly, and that can go out to be longer just depending on situation. So it's 7 to 15 years might be sort of somewhere in that range.
So, and obviously you'd have to make your decision based on those numbers at the time you were going to do it, and I understand that. So the option B, you pay somebody else to install it. You say, so you go into a long-term relationship with them to buy power back at a reduced cost. Can you tell me, is that half of what you would normally pay if you were buying it from Ontario Hydro, or is it a third, or do you not have those numbers?
We have people in the audience that do that. If you want them to answer that question, we can do that. I don't really have the answers for that, but I mean, it's kind of like the argument about, do you lease your car or do you buy it? That's, you know, there's advantages on both sides.
Of course.
So
That's okay. It's premature at this point, so I appreciate your answer. And I'm an ex-car guy, an ex-business manager, so I fully understanding leasing versus buying.
There's very
So
much,
clearly, yes, it was just to try to get a feel for which way would be better for the corporation if we entered into this. And I understand that we have to.
so the other part of this is, okay, so we're saying that power costs whatever it costs today, and we base our return on investment on those numbers, right? But if power in the next 8 years doubles, then those return on investment numbers come way back, right?
Sure.
They can drop in half just
Mhm.
because the power went up. So these systems operate for 25 years. So by the time you get out to the 25th year, the savings are, it's like interest, it's accumulated, are huge, right? Because you're buying
Exactly.
power what it costs 25 or 30 years ago.
Right.
So it's-
Okay. Well, thank you for your presentation. It was interesting and food for thought for sure.
Thank you, Councillor Bolt. Are there other questions? Councillor Byrd, followed then by Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chair. If I may, just for education generally here, if we were to consider this, one of the things we'd have to be talking about is maintenance and lifespan of these things. Not just the cost of installing the actual equipment, connecting it to the grid, etc., but also how long does something like this survive before it needs to be replaced, and what kind of maintenance is required, and who does that if we own it?
yeah, again, we're a little ahead of the cart here. So the maintenance, like most of this equipment is designed to last. So it typically has 10-year warranty or whatever on it. For the inverters and for the panels, they have sort of two parts of the warranty. One is typically 10 or 15 years where it says it's going to continue to operate. And the other one is a long-term, what the output power is going to be. So often panels may have a 25-year warranty that says they'll have 80% of their power output available in 25 years. But that's different than if the thing cracks and you have to replace it. That warranty is often a little bit shorter, so it might be 15 years or whatever, but there is warranties and so on. There's no real moving parts in it. They're pretty reliable. So you kind of cut the grass around it once a year to keep the brush down or whatever. That kind of thing is not huge maintenance wise. But again, that's kind of the difference between whether you rent the photocopier or you buy it, right? So there is two sides to that coin. So you obviously have
Yeah,
to look at that.
I think the point that I'm coming to, and it's early, and I understand that this motion is for information only received, that we'd be looking at trying to make that money back of the cost that we invested in that one way or another inside 10 to 15 years before we had potential to start replacing parts.
I would guess with where power rates are going, that actual number will be of the the number of years will be quite a bit less, but nobody knows for sure.
No, absolutely. No, thank you for answering that. Thank you.
Councillor Smith.
We're at 32 sites, and they're just one of many companies, I would imagine. I'm just wondering what percentage of municipalities or users are purchasing their equipment outright versus using a company like Aura?
Councillor Smith, thank you. I don't have that information. The only information I could find quickly this week was another city or a town that's doing solar, has done solar since 2009 on all their municipal buildings, is Belleville. They have a bit of a different program there, but every municipal building in Belleville has solar on it, and they're, of course, reaping the benefits from that all these years. But I don't have a list of other municipalities that have done that. Probably we would be in the forefront of doing something of this nature.
Councillor McCray.
Thank you very much, Chair. As your representative on the Lanark County Climate Change Network Group, I feel very strongly that I would, along with this evening, us receiving this report, that there also be an amendment to that motion that we ask our staff to report on this initiative and validate the concept and the feasibility of that. Am I allowed to do that at this time? And then I would like, if this is possible, to give an explanation as to why.
Councillor McCray, there already will be an arranged amendment to the motion, which is very similar to one that you've just requested.
Okay, so we're going to advise our staff to,
Councillor Smith has a motion prepared as one of the representatives from the Climate Change Committee.
that's great.
That's right, if it is passed by this committee.
Okay, may I add just some other information
Please
to
go ahead.
this? Okay. So first of all, this evening, it's unfortunate Kirsten couldn't have been here. And I know that all of our councillors have read the report that she was going to present. But it talks about, in her PowerPoint, why do communities have a climate plan? And the third bullet really states, find energy cost savings and identify economic development opportunities. And fourth, it says, have a plan when funding opportunities become available. I've done a lot of research on this, and in fact, I reached out to the staff at Lanark County, and they sent me all kinds of grants that are available, and I have forwarded those to the staff. The iron is hot right now for these kinds of initiatives. So that's the first thing. The second thing is our climate change advisory panel. If you look again at that presentation, we are looking, when we look through it, we're kind of at a standstill in terms of actions, and especially in terms of reducing greenhouse gases at the commercial and residential level. And this is an opportunity where we could move forward with an initiative such as this to actually have quantitative data collected. And there are very few initiatives and projects where they can actually do that. So we would have that. And the other thing is, I believe our climate change advisory panel is looking for something they can get their teeth into, a project that will give them a purpose and something they can work together on this with our community on this. Now, I know they also have, you know, they've been involved with Tony on the greening events and that kind of thing. And so is the Stewart Park Festival and Maple Fest and that kind of thing. That's another initiative. But from a more commercial point of view, I think this is an incredible opportunity. And I really encourage everyone that sits around the council to give it serious consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McCray, for your input. Are there any other questions? Mayor Brown.
Thank you. I do remember where I met you. I toured your house. And so I guess my question would be, you found it, for the rest of you, that the house is completely self-sufficient, right? As far as the electricity goes?
So net metering, the way it works is it's still connected to the grid. And the reason that is that the issue with solar and to some extent wind as well is that when you produce it and when you want to use it can be different times. So we produce lots of it in the daylight, none at night. We need power all 24 hours. And then also we way overproduce in the summertime, and then we use it in the wintertime for a heat pump and whatever. So it is grid connected. So that's where the net comes into play, where we produce more power in the house than we use over the year. A month in January, we'll probably consume more than we generate. And a month in June, we generate much more than we use. So we're using the grid to basically send the energy back there in the summertime, and then we need it in January, we can take it back. And by doing that, because we're doing that at a time of day when these gas plants are coming in to try and balance out the grid, all the solar that gets back fed into the system reduces how much natural gas is being used by those generators to fill that peak demand, where the nuclear and hydro plants are kind of steady state. And then this demand is largely made up somewhat by hydro, but by gas. So that's really, you're still using the network to store your power essentially and allow you to time shift when you produce it to when you use it. But
But you found that it works quite satisfactorily.
Oh, it's fantastic
this
not
is
to
a-
have hydro bills, basically, yeah. You still have some cost to be connected to the grid, but the power we do generate more than we use, and that includes electric vehicle, heating, hot water, and all the electricity in the house.
No.
Not everybody can have panels on their roof, which is the drawback, whereas that's where this virtual solar comes into play, where you can have panels. So for the town hall, instead of putting panels all over the roof, you could put them at the dump or at the whatever, a ground mounted system, but you're still providing the energy for here.
Yeah,
getting the
so it's a
credit.
good practical example that this sort of thing is viable. So I guess my other comment was, when I was at a conference, it was a by 2050, Ontario will require double the amount of electricity that they're using now. So in terms of practicalities, perhaps this is a good idea for the town to equip itself in case we do run out of electricity.
Right, and that kind of demand usually doesn't make prices go down. That usually makes them go up.
Right.
So that's, a lot of this is really protecting yourself against electricity rates as they double and triple and so on. The real payback comes in those years as the price goes up, right?
Are there
Okay.
any further questions from any member of council? With that, I call upon Councillor Smith, who will be reading a motion which we will not be voting on. He will then be reading an amending motion which we will vote on. And after that vote, we will be voting on a final motion. Councillor Smith?
As recommended by the Committee of the Whole, be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Perth receive for information the presentation. Sorry. No, that's the wrong one.
6.2.
Yeah, it's 6.2.
6.2, Councillor.
As recommended by Committee of the Whole, be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Perth receive for information the presentation from Tony Hendricks and Don McKenzie, Solar Net Metering Electricity, as presented at the Committee of the Whole meeting on October 7th, 2025.
If you could now read the amending motion.
The amending motion is that staff bring forward a report regarding the solar net metering electricity proposal to a subsequent meeting.
All those in favor? Carried. Councillor, if you could read the final motion.
As recommended by the Committee of the Whole, be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Perth, 1, receive for information the presentation from Tony Hendricks and Don McKenzie, Solar Net Metering Electricity, as presented at the Committee of the Whole meeting on October 7th, 2025, and 2, direct staff to bring forth a report regarding the solar net metering electricity proposal to a subsequent meeting.
All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Item number 6.3. At this point, I would like to thank you, gentlemen, for your presentation. And thank you for coming today and all the preparation you put into the presentation. I now would like to call upon Abby McQuillan, Certified Fundraising Executive, University Hospitals, Kingston Foundation, Kingston Health Science Center update. Good afternoon and welcome. We're still just before 6, so I'm saying afternoon. If you could please state your name and your address, and we look forward to your presentation. And once you begin, you have 10 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Abby McElwam, and I'm from University Hospitals Kingston Foundation. I'm a resident of Kingston. Would you like that address?
Not necessary, that's fine.
Great. Well, I'm very pleased to be here today to provide an update on the hospitals in Kingston. Next slide. Since the merger between KGH and Hotel Dieu in 2017, which created Kingston Health Sciences Center, the role of our hospital has grown significantly, which today provides ambulatory and acute care to over 650,000 residents. For communities like Perth, this means that even advanced specialized healthcare is accessible within a reasonable distance. This level of care is essential, especially as our region's population grows and ages, and the demand on healthcare has never been greater. As the Regional Referral Center for Tertiary Care, KHSC is supporting smaller hospitals in the area by ensuring that people throughout the region can receive timely and comprehensive care when they need it most. Next slide. Running a hospital today is much more expensive than it used to be. Advances in healthcare mean that patients are living longer, which is wonderful, but it means they often need more complex care over long periods of time. The cost of medical technology has also increased. Hospitals now rely on cutting-edge equipment like a surgical robot and advanced diagnostic imaging, which come with huge price tags. These technologies improve patient care and outcomes, but they're extremely expensive to purchase and maintain. This is where philanthropy becomes critical, as government funding doesn't cover new equipment or facility upgrades. Donations help us acquire critical tools, big and small, like the MRIs or NICU monitors, directly improving patient care and keeping pace with modern healthcare needs. Next slide. In Ontario, a health sciences center is more than a hospital. It's a hub for advanced care, medical education, research, and specialized clinical services. At KHSC, this integrated approach allows us to deliver life-saving specialized care for patients facing the most serious and complex conditions. This means we can provide treatments for stroke, trauma, cardiac emergencies, and organ transplants. We also offer the highest level of critical care for infants and children through our Level 3 pediatric ICU. In addition, KHSC is home to the Cancer Centre of Southeastern Ontario, providing cancer treatments close to home. We are also leaders in minimally invasive surgery, state-of-the-art diagnostic imaging, ensuring patients receive specialized, high-quality care for even the most complex medical needs. Next slide. Our hospital serves the region through a hub-and-spoke model where KGH and Hotel Dieu are the central hubs supported by satellite clinics in smaller communities. For example, dialysis services for chronic end-stage kidney disease are available in Brockville, Smiths Falls, Belleville, Picton, Napanee, and Bancroft. Stroke care has also expanded with prevention and rehab clinics in Brockville, Perth, Smiths Falls, and Belleville, which are staffed by KHSC neurologists. To meet local demand, KHSC doctors like ophthalmologist Dr. Sharma travel to community-based clinics throughout the region, helping to keep more patients local. Mental health is a growing need, and the Heads Up Early Intervention Program for patients dealing with psychosis is now available for patients in Smiths Falls, Brockville, Belleville, Napanee, as well as KGH. For residents in smaller communities, KHSC's new digital pathology services will speed up diagnosis and treatment. Instead of sending physical specimens to Kingston, local hospitals will soon transmit high-resolution images directly to KHSC pathologists who can review them remotely. This allows expert diagnoses in hours rather than days, so patients can begin treatment much sooner at their local hospital. Though many services are offered locally, key specialties still require travel to Kingston. The Cancer Centre at KGH delivers advanced treatment, including chemotherapy, radiation, surgical oncology, in collaboration with local hospitals. Some personalized treatments like oral chemo are even provided at home. Because of the highly trained specialists in areas such as pediatrics, cancer care, neurology, and pathology, KHSC plays a vital role to residents who rely on regional care. Next slide. KHSC serves a catchment area that is home to 650,000 residents. KHSC may be in Kingston, but it serves as a lifeline for families across southeastern Ontario. Half of the people that come to our hospital are from communities outside of the city. This demand reflects a deep need for accessible healthcare to growing and geographically dispersed population. Next slide. Last year, more than 2,000 Perth residents received care at KHSC. That included 200 emergency visits, 1,400 cancer center appointments, and 168 surgeries. But by far the most common reason residents come to Kingston was for outpatient care, with over 4,400 clinical visits for services such as ophthalmology, cardiology, diabetes management, and pediatrics. For a smaller community, these numbers tell an important story. Whether it's emergency care, surgery, or life-saving cancer treatment, KHSC is an essential partner in the health of Perth residents. Next slide. And now, just for the sake of time, I'm going to go to the next slide, but I do encourage you to read the story about Brendan Lasky, a Perth resident. It's attached in the agenda. So next slide. We have made a significant step forward for the future site of KGH, the first viable progress we've been able to share since 2022. The City of Kingston's decision to set aside land for KHSC's future redevelopment gives this project a home, a physical place where we can finally start to imagine what the next generation of healthcare could look like for our region. Rebuilding in place simply wasn't an option due to infrastructure limitations, but the new location provides something our current site can't, which is space to grow, design flexibility, and the ability to plan for modern models of care. Next slide. The next step is submitting our plans to the Ministry of Health and Infrastructure Ontario. This is a long process where a full hospital redevelopment will take more than a decade, but early phases could begin as soon as this year. The early work includes moving certain departments such as labs or pharmacy to make room for immediate priorities in our current site, like expanding the emergency department and adding critical inpatient capacity. While the timeline is long, the momentum is real. Each milestone brings us closer to a hospital that can meet the needs of our aging population, not just in Kingston, but throughout the entire Southeastern Ontario region. Next slide. As you can see from this list, we remain focused on the care we deliver to patients today, and the Hospital Foundation plays a critical role here too. Since the Ministry of Health does not fund hospital equipment, we are called upon to work with our generous community members and surrounding municipalities to invest in the health of our residents. We are fortunate to have support of most councils that are located within our catchment area. I'm not here to make a request to Perth today, but I look forward to exploring that in the future. Next slide. Delivering the best care to residents today is very different than it was a decade ago. At KHSC, our facilities are among the oldest hospital buildings in the country, and they require ongoing upkeep and we've run out of room. These space pressures directly contribute to longer wait times and strain our ability to meet growing demand. We know municipalities face similar challenges as they work to respond to housing needs, recruit healthcare professionals, and strengthen local services. Meeting the healthcare needs of our region will take collaboration at every level. But together we can help ensure residents continue to receive excellent care close to home. Next slide. Even with challenges we face, KHSC continues to deliver outstanding care, and we push forward with innovation. We're introducing new treatments and technologies from robotic surgery to advanced stroke interventions, and we're connecting patients across the region through the new shared health information system. People in our communities are benefiting from highly specialized academic level care right here in Southeastern Ontario. And because of our strong partnerships with regional hospitals and health providers, that care is seamless from start to finish. Much of this progress is made possible by the generosity of donors and the vital support of municipalities. Together, the surrounding communities help KHSC sustain momentum and invest in the innovation that saves lives. With continued partnership, KHSC can not only respond to today's pressure, but also build the future of care that our region deserves. Thank you so much for providing us with an opportunity to share this update. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Are there any questions? We're beginning with Councillor Bird.
Thank you very much, Chair. Quick observation and then a question, if I may. The observation being that for decades professionally, I had need of the services of Kingston General Hospital and Hotel Dieu. A couple of times I personally needed their help. And it was kind of a shock when I read your presentation that how far in the loop I'd got, because I had no idea they'd merged in 2017. So that was just how life passes by and continues. The question I have is, you've mentioned it number of times, the hub model. Would you say, it may not be a fair question, and please say it's not a fair question, would you say, we hear that a lot now, is that generally accepted inside hospital and the medical professionals? That is the future, hub models, because we have tried to develop, or there's the potential for developing that in this community? do you say that is the future, the way the direction's going?
I would say it is the future for our region. I can't truly comment about, outside of southeastern Ontario, but because the catchment area, our community, it's fairly spread out. We've got a number of different counties over many, many kilometers. And I think that it is the most efficient way to serve the community needs where, we have an academic tertiary care hospital in Kingston. We're fortunate to have the expertise, often coming from Queen's or from some of the other medical schools. And from there, they're in a position to go to these other sites and, train other healthcare professionals or deliver the services there themselves. I think it seems to be an efficient way to deliver care so that, those chronic conditions like kidney disease and renal failure are being addressed where patients can stay local and they don't always have to come to Kingston.
I mentioned that only, if I may, that because for a period of time I worked in the Frontenac area, and then and that was in the very early days of hub modeling, for example, at Charlotte Lake and further north in North Frontenac. So I think your area may be slightly ahead of the curve on this. Would that be fair?
I think potentially. I'm not actually sure which spoke models are in Frontenac County. I gather there aren't nearly as many as there are kind of east and west along the 401 corridor.
Councillor Bold.
Thank you, Chair. First and foremost, Abby, thank you for your presentation. It was very enlightening and I appreciate it. And like my fellow councillor, as I age, I find myself going to the hospital a lot more than I used to. And due to cardiology and in my family history, being in need, I've dealt with Kingston, and I got to tell you, every time I've been there, the staff, the doctors, the facility has been amazing. So thank you. Apart from the obvious, which is, financial contributions from individuals and so on, as a council, is there anything, one particular thing going forward that we could do that would help your cause? Maybe a letter to a member of parliament or the federal government? Like, what is it that you'd like us to do for you?
Any advocating for the new hospital would help. We don't have approval yet on our vision and our plan. We do have a phased plan for the hospital, which we are hoping will make it, more feasible for the ministry to sign on, because the amount of money that they have dedicated to hospital projects right now is staggering.
Right.
And we understand there just is not enough money to move forward with all of them. But, advocating for the need will always help. So if you're in a position and you're, in conversation with members from the Ministry of Health, that would certainly be appreciated.
I will certainly do that. Thank you very much.
Are there any other questions? Mayor Brown?
Yes, great presentation. I sit on the Perth Smith Falls Hospital, and so our hospital is in a similar situation as yours, as are many across Ontario. Just received permission from the Ministry of Health to begin the long process to demonstrate what the community needs are. The hospital especially is operating over capacity, especially in the summer with all the tourists. We're operating at 130% capacity. Even if we do get permission to go ahead and build a new hospital, I'm sure we all know that the province doesn't cover the full cost of the hospital. Equipment has to be raised in the community. And for this replacement hospital, we'd be looking at $30 million to be raised in the community. So my question is, a couple of years ago, the province has met with the federal government, and we're seeking a greater percentage of money from healthcare, which it was, and then they decreased it, and I don't know what percentage increase they got, but I haven't seen any evidence of where it was used. So my question is, this is a real burden on municipalities. Municipalities didn't even contribute to healthcare whatsoever. Have you done any investigation as to possible sources for funding from the feds in particular?
Your question is, have we explored additional funding from the province.
Yes. Or
Yes.
the federal government.
Right, sorry, the federal government. I can't speak about at the federal level, but when it comes to the province, over the years, the share that has gone, their share has gone up. When it comes to new builds, they fund 90%, the community funds 10% plus all the equipment. And, you know, historically that was 50%, then it went to 75, now it's 90. So it's up there. I can't say if they're considering changing. I would think not, just because the hospital projects these days are so over budget and they're struggling to find the funds.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Mayor Brown, I believe you have a motion.
Okay. As recommended by the Committee of the Whole, be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Perth receive for information the presentation from Abby McQuillan, Certified Fundraising Executive, University Hospitals Kingston Foundation, Kingston Health Science Center update, as presented at the Committee of the Whole meeting on October the 7th, 2025.
All those in favor? Carried. Abby, we would like to thank you for your very informative presentation. We're here to support you as a council as much as we can, and we wish you every success in the future. Thank you. Moving along to item number 7, we have no correspondence. We move now to staff reports, and I'll call upon Councillor Bolt for your motion.
Thank you, Chair. Moved by myself as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, be it resolved that the Council of Town of Perth authorize the Director of Community Services to submit a grant application to the Destination Canada's Tourism Sprint Grant Program to an upset limit of $25,000 as presented in Report 2025 Cow-12.1.
Thank you. Director Kathy McNally is not here this evening, so any of the questions that you may have pertaining to motions with her name on the agenda, you would direct to our CA. Are there any questions pertaining to this particular motion? Councillor McCray.
Thank you, Chair. So in reading this presentation proposal for the grant application, I'm wondering, it seems to me it's being put together to generate revenues to support our tourism master plan. And I wondered if we could have any more information specifically in terms of revenue generation areas. Are we, like, what are we looking at here? And the other thing is, I just wondered, are we a part of the Canadian Museum Association and the American Museum Alliance? And the reason I bring up the American Museum Alliance, they have a summit online right now from October the 15th and 16th. And it's interesting. One of their topics is revenue generation. So could you speak to that, Michael? What
Yeah,
they're
through the
looking at?
chairs. So we're a member of the Canadian one, but not the American one. But Catherine at the museum is excellent at continually tracking down grant applications and funding for employees and for programs and other things. But always good to look at new ones. This here, we haven't got to the stage of what revenue generating things we're looking at. That's what this grant is for, is to investigate those different opportunities or to search out revenue generating opportunities. So this grant or this money is to go out and find those opportunities, or to spend the time researching those opportunities. So at the end of this part of the program, then we'd come back with what those suggestions would be.
Okay, so you don't have an idea what some of those might be at this point in time, because.
No, because that's what this program is supposed to do.
Okay.
Any other questions? Having heard the motion, all those in favor? Mayor Brown? Having heard the motion, are you in favor of this motion? Okay, that's carried. Thank you very much. Moving right along, Councillor Bolt again.
Thank you, Chair. Moved by myself as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, be it resolved, the Council of the Town of Perth authorize the Director of Community Services to continuously submit a grant application to the Jumpstart Grant Program as presented in Report 2025-CAL 12.2.
Are there any questions pertaining to this motion? Hearing none, having heard the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. 8.3, Councillor Bolt once again.
Popular guy tonight. Moved by myself as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, be it resolved, the Council of the Town of Perth pass bylaw number 5022-1, being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to sign an amending agreement with Pick a Pizza for 3 years commencing October 15th, 2025 to September 1st, 2028 to operate the canteens at the community center and Conlon Farm Chalet as presented in Report 2025-CAL 12.3.
Are there any questions pertaining to this motion? Councillor McCray, followed by Councillor Bolt.
Okay, through you, Chair. So sometimes when there's an agreement with the canteen or a vendor, that type of thing, there's a percentage of the revenue that's generated comes back to the municipality or the organization. And I just have a couple is that ever been considered or investigated? Like they're paying $200, correct? For a month, is it? Or during the season, whenever the contract runs for. And the town is responsible for repairs, maintenance, replacement of equipment. So I just wondered if that had even been explored.
Through the chair, back when we did the initial tender contract for this, that was explored. I think because both locations are not a high margin or a high revenue generating location, we felt this at the time, this was the appropriate balance between finding someone to run the canteen and covering at least some of our costs. Part of it is just providing a service to the users of both locations.
If I may ask one additional question?
Please go ahead.
So just one statement, caterers projected to experience the strongest growth in 2025 of 4.3%. And that's just a figure I was able to get hold of because I'm on the Chamber of Commerce. Anyway, I just wanted to ask, when we have an agreement that comes to an end, do we go through a typical RFP process, or is it just rolled over in the same group? Like,
Through the chair,
can you
yes, we
clarify on that?
yes, we do. In this case, this is still part of the original contract. So the original RFP had an original window for it, and then a 3-year extension if both parties were happy. So this is the start of that 3-year extension. At the end of that period, we'd be going back out for RFP.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councillor Bolt.
Thanks, Chair. I'd just like to make a comment because Kathy's not here, and I have had a lot of experience, not so much at Conlon Farm, but at the arena because of the fact that I've announced Junior B hockey games for 27 years now, believe it or not.
Woo.
So all I'm saying is that based on comments Kathy's already made, these two people are probably two of the hardest working people I've ever seen. They both have full-time jobs, and to answer concerns of my fellow councillor, and you were spot on, Michael. You know, they make a few dollars at a hockey game, but these aren't long-term events like where they make a whole whack of money. And I think we're fortunate to have them provide a service that the community utilizes and appreciates. And that's all I'd like to say.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bolt. Councillor McCray.
Through you, Chair, it's not that I have a concern about them. Okay, I don't know them at all.
Right.
I'm just asking the questions. That's all.
I appreciate that, and they were legitimate questions, so thank you very much. Any other questions? Having heard the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Councillor Bolt, 8.4.
Getting hoarse. Moved by myself as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Perth, one, pass bylaw number 52XX, being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute a multi-year agreement with Palmer and Associates for cleaning services, and two, repeal bylaw number 4213, being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to sign an agreement with Palmer and Associates for the provision of cleaning services as presented in report 2025 Cow-12.4.
Are there any questions pertaining to this motion? Councillor Bold.
Yeah, so I read the report, and while I moved the report, I haven't had an opportunity to discuss it with Kathy. So it refers to in a report that by getting these extra services provided, cleaning services, that it's going to free up staff at the pool to be able to put on additional programs. My question through you, Michael, would be typically, when would this cleaning be done? At the end of the day or through the day? Could you elaborate, please?
Through the chair, with 90% certainty, I can say that I think it's usually during the day. So when there's a rush, when people come in for programming, then they'll be in the pool, and then the change rooms are vacant for a bit. So some cleaning happens then, and others is at the end of the day. But we're still paying those staff for that time because they only have a certain availability. So this will free up their time. There's a huge demand for time at the pool. We struggle to find enough staff to keep the doors open as long as there's demand. So this will let us spend more time on revenue generating projects there.
So that's a segue into my next question then, if I could. So having said that, you've done the math, but according to the report, do you feel it'll be a wash financially by recovering it or getting additional income for other programs? Have we kind of come to that solution?
For the pool location, yeah, absolutely. I think it'll be a wash for revenue versus expenditures there. And the amount that we're paying per hour for the cleaning services is not significantly different than the amount we were paying our staff.
So if I could, one more question.
Go ahead.
Thank you. The only thing that I wasn't really 100% behind was the built-in amount that we're going to increase what we're going to pay these people over a 3-year period that amounts to roughly an additional 10% over 3 years. I'm wondering how we came up with that amount. Was that requested, or is that based on inflation anticipated at 3% per year? I was just curious about that.
Through the chair, I wasn't part of those negotiations. I think it was Kathy working with the contractor, and whether it was projected costs on their part or labor agreements on their part. I can tell you for the amount that we're paying per hour, or that we're paying them per hour, I wouldn't want to be cleaning our facilities. So I think the 10% increase over that contract it's still not big dollars for the people doing the work.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted an explanation because that was what I was concerned about. Thank you.
Mayor Brown.
Yeah, one question. I'm not sure if you know the answer to this one. You mentioned in the report the increasing use of the pool. Is that because more and more people from Smith Falls are using the pool?
Through the chair, I think when Kathy's back, she'll have to answer that one about usage numbers. I know the staff are tracking it. I'm not sure if it's from one particular location or just as our population increases, just a general increase overall.
Thank you.
And as we offer more times that we're open, there's more people that come in to fill those spaces.
Thank you.
Councillor McCray.
Through you, Chair, to Michael. So this group, they have basically they're cleaning the fire hall, the town hall, the pool, and the trailer. I'm just wondering, what other cleaning in our municipality do we hire people to clean? Like for example, the museum. Are there other groups that come in that do cleaning for our municipality? And the reason I bring that up, is there a way that we could consolidate it all so that we could get maybe a reduced rate? I know $30 an hour is really good. That's very good. A very good rate for cleaning, but.
Through the chair, I'll have to get an answer on that one for you for the next meeting. I know that Kathy has worked hard and Shannon before her trying
know.
to find quality cleaning people.
Mhm.
And
It's
this is a slight consolidation already, but
Yeah.
by taking that further
Like,
consolidations.
I'm not, I don't know what other buildings, what the arrangements are for like the museum or,
Mhm.
I have no idea. But you know, it's $6,375 a month, plus the HST. And if you multiply that by 12 months, you know, it adds up.
Mhm.
That's all. I just wondered what that might be. You know, if there was a way to do that. Anyway, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Having heard the motion, all those in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. I will now call upon Councillor Byrd to read your motion.
Thank you, Chair. I thought that might be a typo and it was supposed to be Councillor Bolt, but.
We've enjoyed listening to his voice, and it's now time for yours, Councillor Byrd.
Yeah, this, I'm going to read a motion that is the one that's posted, is not to be voted on.
That's correct.
And start the process, just to get it on the floor. The original motion is, as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Perth adopt the timeline for the 2026 Mayor's budget process, as presented in Report 2025-CAL-12.5.
And just to clarify for council, after Councillor Byrd has read that motion, we entertain any discussion pertaining to the motion. And then depending upon the discussion, Councillor Byrd will be presenting an amending motion. We will then vote on that. And as before, we will then vote on the final motion. So I now open the floor to any discussion on the motion that you've just heard. Hearing none, I will call upon Councillor Byrd to present the amended motion.
Yes, just a question procedurally, because a note I made, if I may, Chair, was the Director of Finances to make a presentation at this point and representation about the amended before?
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll call upon Nev to please present the email that you sent out to us this afternoon.
Thank you. So through the chair, I had sent out earlier a different timeline, just that had it a bit earlier within the time frame. But after I had discussions and there were vacations involved and just giving more time for staff to review, I kind of amended the timelines to what's being presented on the screen above. These mimic the same timelines that were used in the prior year as well.
So you see before you the amended timeline that was shared with us by email earlier this afternoon. I would entertain any questions or concerns that you have to Nev. And if all members of council are in agreement with what's presented, we will vote on that, or we'll vote on any amendments to any of the suggested schedule there. So hopefully you all had a chance to read the email this afternoon. If perchance somebody did not, this gives you a chance to just review it.
Sorry, and if I may, if you did not have a chance to review the email, I think the changes are primarily just limited to the November dates.
That's
So
correct.
if you're looking for changes, that December is the same and October is the same, just November is what's proposed to change.
Any questions or concerns or comments? Deputy Mayor?
So are we getting an outline of the budget principles? When is that? When do we receive that?
Through the chair. So through the presentation I did in August, the budget principles were kind of outlined then. And there was a discussion to see if there was any changes or any comments at that point, and there was no discussion then. So at that point, it's usually just produced for information purposes. So I wasn't planning to bring it up again because they're the same principles as I was used in the past.
So in that
Go ahead.
meeting, I asked, was the intention of you to bring forward a list of capital projects that you would have, or any new projects that were discretionary and non-discretionary? I know you were talking at a staff level, but is council going to be giving that opportunity for at the budget time?
Yes, that will be included within the budget.
Councillor McCray, did you have a question? Oh,
Through you, Chair, it's just a comment. The BIA has to prepare a budget for this as well. So it's really important. And so does Stewart Park Festival, which is part of that. So it's really important that these dates get to them as well. So that
absolutely.
they have their materials of, in preparation for our budget deliberations. That's all.
Nev, has this been communicated to the BIA and also to Stewart Park Festival?
Yes, through the chair, I did have a conversation with Nancy today. So I told her after this was passed and it was approved by council that I would share that with her.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Brown.
Last year, we adopted certain budget principles, and I'm wondering if those ceased with the end of that budget. Are there new budget principles for this year? You look puzzled.
Nev?
So through the chair, we had a conversation about the budget principles when I did my presentation on August 12th. And at that time, I opened it up to see if there was any feedback or discussion on changing any of those principles, and there was none received at that time. So I assumed that the budget principles would remain the same.
Any other questions or concerns? Hearing none, I ask Councillor Byrd to please read the amended motion.
Thank you, Chair. Again, moved by me, that the timelines for the 2026 Mayor's budget process be amended as follows. And would you require me to read out that entire list from
And you can
August?
see as follows in front of you on the screen. All those in favor? Carried. I will now ask Councillor Byrd to present the final motion.
Thank you. Moved by myself, as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Perth adopt the timelines for the 2026 Mayor's budget process as follows.
All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. I will now call upon Councillor Byrd to read the motion pertaining to item 8.6.
Thank you, Chair. Moved by myself. As recommended by the Committee of the Whole, be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Perth approve the renewal of the insurance policy for the Corporation of the Town of Perth with Marsh Canada Limited at the cost of $320,091 plus PST for the 1-year term starting on September the 24th, 2025. As presented in report 2025-12.6.
Thank you, Councillor Byrd. Are there any questions pertaining to this motion? Councillor Bold.
So Nev, nice to see an insurance company finally give us a little bit of a discount, but only because there was pressure, because another insurance company gave us a better one. In your opinion, do you think we could have pushed harder, or is this as good as it's going to get?
Through the chair, I think because there are only certain players that work within the municipal sector. So the other quote that we got would have been, we could have pushed maybe the other one and went back and forth at this point, just because there was changes within the type of insurance we were receiving. I wanted to ensure that we were having the exact same insurance, like it was apples to apples.
Right.
So at this point, I don't think we would have gone anything for this year. I do think, and having conversations with the broker, that the municipal insurance kind of world at this point is softening a bit. So does that mean maybe next year that we can push a little bit harder? Maybe. But in previous years, it was at a point where you couldn't push it at all. We were at the mercy kind of what they were providing. So I think moving forward, it definitely gives us a bit more leverage.
Okay, yeah, I read your report. I just wondered how those negotiations went and if you felt there was any. So that's a fair answer. As I said, I'm glad it's just year to year. We might find out a year from now because of losses and so on and so forth that they're going to be wanting to claw back most of the other. But thank you for your answer. Appreciate it.
Councillor Smith.
Excuse me. I read the report as well, and the Marsh, I believe it is, Marsh's initial bid was $379,000. The other company was $320,091, I believe. And I just wonder, is it usual for just to not accept that original bid at 320,000? Instead, go back to Marsh and get them to reduce the amount by a considerable amount.
So through the chair, I had that conversation, and like I said, it wasn't the exact same insurance that we would normally have gotten from Marsh. So it wasn't like a direct comparable. So
Okay.
having that conversation with the broker to say, okay, you know, what is your kind of opinion about the insurance that's being provided by one compared to the other? And because with Marsh, we've had such an outstanding number of years of experience with them, we actually are in really good standing, like in regards to ranking, kind of like when you have car insurance and you don't have any issues, right? Like you kind of have a standing that way. So that is why we decided to go back to Marsh and see if they could do anything at that point, because that is the insurance I wanted to go with originally, just in terms of the policy. So that's why we went back at that point.
And you got a good discount from them.
Councillor Byrd.
Thank you through the chair. Just a couple of observations as chair in this particular matter. Most of us are aware, because of sitting here over the years, the number of insurance brokers and for municipalities is reducing all the time. And yes, I'm glad we've got a bit of a break here, because that's not always the case. And the other thing I would just like to say as chair of finances, I don't think council members should have any worries about Director John Day pushing back on our behalf.
Thank you very much, Councillor Byrd. Any further questions? Having heard the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Moving along to 8.7, Deputy Mayor.
Moved by myself as recommended by Committee of the Whole, be resolved as the Council of the Town of Perth directs staff to bring forward a terms of reference for a Committee of Adjustment and Property Standards Committee as presented report 2025 COW 12.7.
Are there any questions of either Joanna or Amanda? Councillor Bolt.
Yes, Chair. So I just wanted clarification on this. So I understand you're merging both into one, and that's okay. But in terms of reference, is that sort of kind of about here's what we expect when it comes to property standards, or can you explain to me exactly what this means?
I'll start. Amanda can correct me if I'm wrong, but we do have a property standards bylaw the same way that we have provisions under the Planning Act about minor variances. The terms of reference is more things like who the committee is apprised of, when they will meet, when minutes will go out, things about decisions, different items like that, more how the committee is formed and run, and all the components of that. So Amanda has actually done a lot of the legwork on that, and we're meeting tomorrow to start sort of working on terms of reference if this is something, the direction that council wants to go on.
So if I may, further question?
Go ahead.
So if an individual feels that there's a concern, I, as a councillor, have concerns about a couple of different properties, will remain nameless. But if somebody in the public says, I think that that's that shouldn't be meeting our standards. What's the protocol for bringing that to the attention of this committee?
So the committee being, will have sort of two purposes. One, again, as Joanna mentioned, will be minor variances related to the Planning Act. But under the Property Standards Committee, that committee will be tasked with hearing only appeals. So if there are complaints related to a property standards matter, they would continue to follow the normal process outlined in the property standards bylaw.
Okay.
This committee would only hear if there was a complaint issued. Town staff followed up on the complaint and, after being unsuccessful and having the violation remedied, they were issued an order.
Right.
And the order provides that they have a specific timeline in which they can submit an appeal to the order.
Okay.
So the committee would hear the appeals only.
Clears it up. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Having heard the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Item number 9, CAO and Director Departmental Updates. Are there any questions of our CAO or any of our directors? Councillor Bird?
Yes, through the chair, and this is for the CAO. And it's in relation to staff reports. And as I hear myself speak and where I was going to go, I've just had a moment of clarity and think that that's probably going to be more appropriate for in-camera discussion and not for the open floor at this point. So I withdraw.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Now that we're entering into fall, I wonder if you could explain to council the decision to close off access to the compost piles for people dropping off leaves. And I'll give you an example. I don't use bags. I have a half-ton truck and I take all my leaves to the dump in my truck. I almost fell in the bin. There's no way to empty a truck without basically dumping it all on the way the bins are set up. You can't safely back up to the bin and empty your vehicle unless you're using bags. And I'm just wondering, was there some health and safety concern that we moved from the old system to the current one?
Through the chair, I think there was some site security issues that triggered a couple changes, but I'll find out for sure for you.
Could you also see if there's an alternative for people with trucks that don't use bags? Because
I think you're the only one, but.
Yeah, because I don't want to fall in the bin.
Mm-hmm.
Councillor McCray?
Thank you, Chair. So this question is for Joanne. I was reading your report. What is a model home policy?
Thank you. Model home policy is, so when we get to a point of, prior to completing a subdivision agreement, there's usually something called a pre-servicing agreement where we sort of allow the developer, they've met a lot of the criteria, they've got a lot of their studies, but they're not quite through the draft condition approval of subdivision process. And so at their own risk, they can sort of service the land. So they can do some preliminary roads and put in services. We collect securities for that, of course. So if things go badly wrong, we can put it back to rights. But one of the things they often look for is the construction of model homes. So there's different kinds of model homes, but without complicating it, you usually go to, say, like in Ottawa, like a Minto subdivision, and there's 2 or 3 homes that you can tour.
Okay.
And you can go through them and you can talk to whoever and get, cards and different things about those models. And so a model home is literally that, just a home that is generally, we call it a dry home. So you can't turn on the water. There's no services actually connected. You can't occupy it, but it's a home for people to tour and look at. So it gives the developer a way to pre-sell their homes before they get the full subdivision in. So generally we look at, allowing a particular number of model homes per, however it's done. You can do a percentage, you can do so many per area, so we're just sort of looking at creating a model home policy to to be in line and at the same time as the pre-servicing agreement, because that's usually when that happens. But we just want to have it hammered down so someone doesn't think they can just come in and build 12 model homes.
Okay.
Maybe it should be 6 or whatever the number is. So we're just working on that. And then the distinction between the types of model homes, which is more building code and less me.
And if I can just add one additional question.
Go ahead.
Chair. So let's say, for example, you're doing a development and most developments have a model home, but when you get to the next phase, are you allowed then to have another model home or do you have to keep the original model home? What's the policy on that? So let's say you have a development and they're going to develop so many homes in the first phase, and then they get to the second phase. Are they allowed, depending on our policy, would they be allowed to then have another model home for each phase, or is it just one for the particular whole residential? Or that's all going to be covered in these policies.
That's a very good question. And I think generally my take on that would be usually they put up model homes and it's almost like they've sold the lots already and they build them and people go through them. And there's usually a side agreement with the owner and the developer that say, yeah, people can go through this home that we're building. But then at some point they sell them and occupy those original model homes. And then when they start the second phase, they build other models.
Okay.
It doesn't always happen like that. I would say that that's kind of maybe something that can be fleshed out a little bit better in that policy, or maybe at the discretion of the development group at the time. There's some, for example, some subdivisions are only maybe 15 units. So, they're not going to need a second phase. But if you have a large subdivision that's 500 or 600 units, they may have 4 or 5 phases. So different things apply at different times, but it's something to be explored. So,
okay,
thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions of council? Moving right along to number 10, we have no new business this evening. Our next meeting date will be Tuesday, November the 4th at 5:30. Councillor McCray will be chairing at that time. Are there any questions from the media this evening?
Olivia Bear with Inside Ottawa Valley. No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Number 13, I'm entertaining a motion by Councillor Bolt.
Motion for the committee of the whole to resolve itself into a closed session. So it's moved by myself that the committee of the whole move into a closed session, and I'm going to suggest at 6:58 to give us a little bit of time for a quick bathroom break. PM to discuss the salary compensation and grid review and presentation by Kelly Pender in accordance with the Municipal Act 2001, subsection 239, bracket 2. B, personal matter about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employee. And D, labor relations or employee negotiations.
Having heard the motion, all those in favor? Carried. We will now move into closed session, which will begin in 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Okay, we are now at item number 14, and I will call upon Councillor McCray to rise and report from closed session.
Thank you, Chair. Moved by myself that the Committee of the Whole rise and report from the closed session at 8:07 p.m.
Thank you. In closed session, the Committee of the Whole approved closed session meeting minutes, received a presentation from Kelly Pender, KJ Pender Management Consulting regarding a salary compensation and grid review, and discussed personal matters about identifiable individuals and labor relations and employee negotiations. I will now call upon Councillor Byrd for your motion.
Thank you, Chair. Moved by myself that the following motion be brought forward to open session. As recommended by the Committee of the Whole, be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Perth, 1, approve pending a review by staff with OTSU Local 435 of the union salary grid. 2, approve the non-union salary grid and direct staff to bring forward a report to open session of the 21st of October 2025 Council meeting regarding the union and non-union salary grids.
All those in favor? Carried. Item number 15, and a motion to adjourn. Councillor Byrd.
Thank you. Moved by myself that the Committee of the Whole meeting held on the 7th of October 2025 adjourn at 8:08 p.m.
I suspect this may carry. All those in favor? Okay, go Jays, go. Thank you all. Thank you very much.